You're working hard. You wake up early, deal with traffic, deadlines, pressure, and at the end of the month, you still manage to save something. Maybe not a lot, but enough to feel like you're doing the right thing. And yet, there's this quiet frustration that keeps showing up. You check your balance, and it doesn't feel like progress. It feels slow. Then you open social media. Someone your age just hit their first 100K. Another one is talking about investing, passive income, early retirement, and suddenly your savings don't feel like an achievement anymore. They feel like you're falling behind. Here's the thing. No one really talks about what behind actually means. Behind compared to who, to what timeline, to what strategy. Because look, if you're playing a game without understanding the rules, of course it's going to feel like you're losing. My name is Demas, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. If you're someone who feels stuck financially, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Now let's get something straight. Feeling behind financially isn't always about how much money you have. Sometimes it's about how unclear the path actually is. You're told to save more, invest early, avoid debt, but no one really explains how these pieces fit together. So you end up doing a little bit of everything and still feel like nothing is moving. Here's the thing. Confusion creates hesitation, and hesitation slows progress. Now you might be thinking, I just need to earn more. And sure, income matters, but here's what most people don't realize. Without a clear system, more income doesn't fix the problem. It just makes the inefficiency bigger. So let's talk about the advice you've probably heard over and over again. Save 1 times your salary by 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50. Clean, simple, easy to remember, and on the surface it sounds logical, like a clear roadmap you can follow. But look, here's where it starts to fall apart. These rules assume your life follows a straight line. Stable income, no major setbacks, consistent investing, no debt dragging you down. That's not how real life works. People switch careers, deal with emergencies, support family, or start late, and suddenly those simple rules stop feeling helpful and start feeling like pressure. Now, you might be thinking, but I still need a benchmark. And that's fair. But here's what most people don't realize. Chasing generic benchmarks can distract you from what actually matters, your own financial structure, not someone else's timeline. So here's where we need to shift the way you're looking at this. Because the real problem isn't that your savings are too small, it's that you might be measuring the wrong thing entirely. Look, most people treat savings like a scoreboard. The higher the number, the better you're doing. But money doesn't work like that. $1 sitting in your account is not the same as $1 working for you, or $1 costing you interest. Now imagine this. 2 people, same age. One has $50,000 saved, but also carries $40,000 in debt. The other has only $20,000 saved, but 0 debt. On paper, the first person looks ahead. Bigger number, right? But here's the thing. That number is misleading. Because what actually matters isn't how much you've saved. It's what you own after everything is accounted for. Assets minus liabilities. That's your real position. And once you start looking at money this way, everything changes. All right, now let's put real numbers behind this, because this is where things stop being opinions and start being reality. Let's go back to those 2 people. Person A has $50,000 sitting in a savings account earning around 2% per year. That sounds fine, safe, predictable, but at the same time, they're carrying $40,000 in debt at 6%. That means every year, they're earning about $1,000 from their savings, but losing $2,400 to interest. Now do the math. They're not moving forward. They're going backwards by $1,400 every single year. Compare that to person B. Only $20,000 saved, but no debt. Instead, they invest that money at an average return of 7%. That's about $1,400 gained per year. Same number. Completely different direction. Here's what most people don't realize. Financial progress isn't about how much you have. It's about whether your system is quietly working for you or against you. So if the math is this obvious, why do so many people still get stuck here? Look, it's not because they're bad with numbers. It's because money decisions are rarely about logic. They're about psychology. First, loss aversion. People hate the feeling of losing money. So when they think about using their savings to pay off debt, it feels like their balance is going down, even though in reality, they're eliminating a guaranteed loss. Second, instant gratification. Watching your savings grow feels good. It's visible progress. Paying off debt, it feels invisible. No excitement, no reward, just a number going to zero. And third, misunderstanding risk. Now, you might be thinking, at least my money is safe in savings. But here's the thing. Carrying high-interest debt isn't safe. It's a guaranteed negative return. And this is where it gets really interesting. The biggest financial mistakes aren't made in spreadsheets, they're made in your head. So what do people who are actually good with money see differently? Here's the thing. They don't treat money like a scoreboard. They treat it like a system. Most people focus on the number in their account. They ask, how much do I have? But wealthy thinkers ask a different question. What is my money doing right now? Because not all dollars are equal. Some are growing, some are compounding, some are just sitting there, slowly losing value to inflation. And some are actively working against you through interest. Look, if you zoom out, your financial life is less like a bank account and more like a machine. And every dollar you have is either a part that moves the machine forward or creates friction. Think about it like a boat. Savings is the water you've stored. Debt is a leak. Investments are the engine. Now, you might be focused on adding more water, but if there's a leak you're ignoring, you're not really moving forward. You're just delaying the problem. So what does a better strategy actually look like? Look, it's not complicated, but it does require the right order. Because the sequence of your decisions matters just as much as the decisions themselves. First, you build a small emergency fund, just enough to protect you from unexpected expenses. Not perfect, just stable. Then, you aggressively eliminate high-interest debt. Anything above around 6 to 7% is quietly draining your progress every single day. Once that's handled, you expand your emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months of expenses. Now you have real security. And only then do you start investing seriously, putting your money into assets that can actually grow and compound over time. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that slow? But here's what most people don't realize. Doing things out of order is even slower. Two people can earn the same income, save the same amount, and still end up tens of thousands of dollars apart, just because one followed the right sequence. So, are you actually behind? Look, maybe, but probably not for the reason you think. You're not behind because your savings number looks small. You're behind if your money doesn't have direction. If it's sitting still, being eaten by inflation, or quietly working against you through debt. Here's the thing. Wealth isn't built by hitting a specific number at a specific age. It's built by consistently making decisions that move you forward, even if the progress feels slow at first. Now, you might still feel like you're late, and that's normal. But being late with the right system is still better than being early with the wrong one, because over time, direction compounds. Small advantages stack, and eventually the gap becomes obvious. So stop asking, am I behind? Start asking, is my money moving in the right direction? Because that question is the one that actually changes everything.